Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 5th, 2023, and lots of news about the Enriquez Negreira case, starting with the fact that Real Madrid have requested from La Liga to join the legal complaint against Barcelona in the Enriquez Negreira case. Also, it looks like the Barcelona former presidents Sandro Rosell and Josep Maria Bartomeu have met to discuss a possible lawsuit against La Liga's president Javier Tebas for that false evidence that he used to try to incriminate Barcelona and try to incriminate the former Barcelona presidents. We have a lot to discuss, so let's get this stream going. Just remember to like and subscribe this channel, and let's begin with the news. Now, just like the previous streams, I'm going to do it the same format. We're going to talk about a segment of the news, and then I'll head to the comment section in order to discuss all of you guys' questions and comments. And I see that Nima is already here. Hi, Nima. Thank you for joining the stream like you always do, and thank you for always supporting the channel. And also thank you to all of you who are watching and who will be watching the stream once it ends. Now, let's start with the news. It was not a good day today for Barcelona. We just lost 0-4 against Real Madrid at the Spotify Camp Nou in the second leg of the Copa del Rey. And with this loss, we are officially out of the Copa del Rey. So now the only title that we have left to fight for is the Liga title. Now, not a good match at all by the team. It was a very disappointing performance. I do think that we deserve to lose, just how the team played, but I don't think we deserve to lose by 4 goals because I don't think Madrid really did that much. I mean, in the first half, Madrid didn't do anything besides that last-minute goal, and during the second half, they only had 2 or 3 chances, or I should say 3 or 4 chances, and it was all thanks to Barcelona mistakes, and Madrid were able to score 3 more goals. So this score is a little bit deceiving. It's not like Real Madrid dominated that entire match, and that's how they were able to get that score. I think is a little bit deceiving, but nonetheless, we did deserve to lose by just how the team played. Now, before we talk about how the team played, I really think that the whole Real Madrid campaign in the media, constantly talking about the Enriquez Negreira case, the Real Madrid TV constantly airing shows, pointing out different mistakes that referees did in the past against Madrid to make it seem like referees have always been against Real Madrid, have always been in favor of Barcelona. I think that campaign has paid off. And I think we saw that in today's match, especially during the first 2 or 3 minutes when there was a clear penalty call in favor of Barcelona. When I can't remember who it was, I think it was Rudiger, who dove on the floor, and the ball clearly hits his arm. But the referee in the VAR decided to ignore that, saying, well, the player was falling, he was leaning on his hand, and that why it's not a penalty kick. I think that's absolute BS. I mean, it's not like he tripped and he was falling and then the ball hit his hand. He purposely threw himself, and that's how he was able to block the ball with his arm. And since they're trying to say that that wasn't a penalty kick because he was falling, then I think from now on, all defenders, what they should do, they should dive with their arms out, block the balls, and just say, well, I was falling, I was leaning on my arm, so it's not a penalty kick. I think it's absolute BS. I think that was a clear penalty call in the favor of Barcelona. They could have completely changed how the match was going, but nonetheless, the referee in the VAR decided to ignore it. And I really think that has to do with the whole campaign that Real Madrid have been mounting. So now referees are afraid of making calls like this because they're going to be afraid that they're going to be called in the media that they're in favor of Barcelona. That has to do with the Enriquez Negreira case, etc., and all this BS that Real Madrid have been spreading. Now, the ref was awful throughout the entire match, constantly making calls against Barcelona, but not applying the same criteria to Real Madrid. Vinicius Jr. attacked Gabi from the back, and then he gave yellow cards to both of them. It was an absolute crap show, but nonetheless, I don't think that it was the referee's fault that we lost this match. This match was lost because the team was absolutely awful on the field, and that is why we lost 0-4. I think we haven't lost by this big of a margin since 1995. Not only was it a loss, not only it was an elimination out of the Copa del Rey, but it was a historical and embarrassing loss nonetheless. Now, Barcelona started out the match really good during the first 20 minutes. They were dominating. They were maintaining the high pressure, creating some chances, moving the ball quick. But I think somehow that ended up backfiring at us because after that, the team became overconfident and they started playing and passing the ball like they were up 5-0, walking around the field, making those back passes, looking around, making a side pass, or jog a little bit, make another side pass. And it just looked like the team were in training or they were up 5-0, completely overconfident. And that's what allowed Real Madrid to mount that counter attack, which made the score 0-1. And after that, the team completely fell apart. And the second half was an absolute disaster. The midfield was atrocious, letting Real Madrid constantly get through them. The defense lacked physicality and discipline and order, and it was an absolute crap show. There was no attacking ideas. The whole team fell apart, and Madrid were able to score 3 more goals, and we deservedly lost this match. Now, of course, this was a scenario that was expected. We had 4 key players who were missing: Frankie de Jong, Pedri, Dembele, and Christensen. Also, we were only up by 1-0 coming into this match. And then finally, beating a team 3 times in a row, it's always difficult no matter who the opponent is. So losing to Real Madrid, of course, was a very possible scenario. But to lose this way, 0-4, that I would have never imagined that. I would have never fathomed that to happen. And again, this was solely the fault of the team and the way how they played. Now, in the defense, we definitely miss Andreas Christensen. I think Marcos Alonso, and he's a player that I always defend, was absolutely atrocious. He made very crucial mistakes. In fact, the first goal was partly due to a Marcos Alonso mistake. Even Ronald Araujo, who's a beast, who's always there to stop Vinicius Jr., he even was not completely focused. And there were several times where Vinicius Jr. Went past Ronald Araujo. Our midfield was pretty atrocious as well. I think we definitely missed Pedri and Frankie de Jong. I think Kessie, up to that penalty that he caused, was absolutely spectacular. He was really good with defense, really good with the offense. He had a really good match. Busquets had a so-so match. He made some mistakes, but he also had some pretty good saves. Sergio Roberto was not up to par in this match at all. If Xabi and the club want to renew Sergio Roberto, that's not a problem. He does have plenty of experience. He's barely earning any money. And he is pretty versatile as far as the positions that he can play. But I don't think Sergio Roberto is cut out for these kind of matches. I think Sergio Roberto at his age should be a rotational player, someone that you use in matches against teams like Elche, like Osasuna, etc. But definitely not a player that is cut out for big caliber matches like this one against Real Madrid in a semifinal. But again, I do understand that Xavi had to play him just due to all the injuries that the team currently have. Now, the attack was absolutely gone. We have no attack. It's an absolute disaster. I think after this match, Barcelona should definitely sell Ferran Torres, Ansu Fati, and Rafinha. All 3 of them were absolute garbage. Rafinha can't even dribble past his shadow. He made 0 impact on the match. He didn't even dribble 1 time past Camavinga. He was an absolute ghost, an absolute goner. And the fact that we paid 60 million euros for this guy is an absolute disaster. I think we got robbed, and we definitely need to sell Rafinha. Somebody said in a few videos ago that I was a Rafinha hater. But come on, let's be honest. Let's be real here. Before Rafinha, who did we have in that position? We had Lionel Messi, who used to score 35, 40, 50 goals a season. And now we have Rafinha, who scored 9 goals. And all of a sudden, everybody is like, wow, Rafinha, you're so amazing. 9 goals, guys. Seriously, this is FC Barcelona. And we're applauding a guy because he scored 9 goals. Is this how low we've fallen, where 9 goals is somehow a sign of greatness? I mean, this is the amount of goals that Braithwaite had. Does that make Braithwaite a great player? I mean, Rafinha needs to be sold ASAP. He made 0 impact on the match. And if we don't want to compare him to Messi, that's fine. Messi's an alien. Nobody compares to him. Let's compare him to his counterpart on Real Madrid, Vinicius Jr. Are you telling me that in a match, if you had a chance to choose between Rafinha and Vinicius Jr., you're going to choose Rafinha? Absolutely not. The guy is garbage. He can't dribble. He can't create any danger. He can't do absolutely nothing. All he does is send pointless cross after pointless cross. And if not, he stops, he looks back and makes a back pass because the guy is too scared to try out anything. Rafinha should be sold. And after this match, there's no doubt about it. This is a guy that we paid 60 million euros for, and he does not show up to any of the big matches. He doesn't even show up to the small matches. He's had, I think, 2 good matches this whole season. It's an absolute waste of money, and it's an absolute disgrace that we spend this much money on this guy. Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati were just as trash. I think they contributed just as much on the field as they did when they were on the bench. They were absolutely gone. It's like they weren't even there. And everybody likes to talk about Lewandowski not scoring goals, but how is he going to score goals when there's absolutely nobody in the front to give him a ball? Not Rafinha, not Ferran, not Ansu Fati. Nobody can get the ball to Robert Lewandowski. How do you expect Lewandowski to score goals? I mean, it is not a coincidence that Lewandowski's goal scoring ratio has gone down ever since Dembele and Pedri got injured, because those 2 guys knew how to get him the ball, and when he got the ball, he scored. But now we got Rafinha, Ferran, and Ansu, who are absolutely useless. They don't have Barca level. They need to be gone, and they need to be gone ASAP, especially because how the financial situation is at the club. Remember, we need to reduce our wage bill by 200 million euros. We need to register guys like Gavi, like Ronald Araujo. We need to renew guys like Balde, like Dembele, and to risk losing players like these, players like Gavi, like Araujo, like Balde, guys who are absolutely amazing, who contribute on the field, who have a long and prosperous future ahead of them. To risk losing guys like this so we can keep garbage like Rafinha, like Ferran, like Ansu is absolutely unacceptable. These 3 guys should be sold, no doubt about it. I know I wanted to give Ansu Fati more margin of error because of his injuries, but I don't think this guy is coming back from what he used to be. And if he is, we simply don't have the time to be waiting for him. He needs to go. Ferran Torres has had his chance. He's been at the club almost a season and a half. He needs to go. Rafinha hasn't improved one bit. If anything, he's gotten worse and worse with every match. He needs to go. This is absolutely unacceptable. Barcelona's attack was atrocious. We looked smaller than teams like Elche, like Osasuna. It was absolutely embarrassing what was going on the field. And I'm very pissed and I'm very angry about how we lost. I don't mind that we lost because I said it was a very possible scenario. But the way we lost is absolutely unacceptable. It's embarrassing, and these players should be gone ASAP. But anyways, that was it. That was the match. We're out of the Copa del Rey, so our only hope now is La Liga. So hopefully we don't blow that and we can win that title. We do have a pretty good margin above Real Madrid. But let's head back to the comment section. Let's see what you guys think about this match, and then we'll move on to the next story about the Enriquez Negreira case. A lot of developments there. So let's see. How do you feel about Xavi's in-game management, especially about how stubborn he is in playing offensive at home when obviously needed to start defensive? I don't think this was a problem with Xavi. I think Xavi worked with the lineup that he had with all the injuries that we have. I don't think playing defensively is the answer. Barcelona is not a team that plays defensively. Barcelona is a team that controls the tempo of the matches with the possession of the ball, by attacking. This is our best defense, is our attack. But maybe we should have played defensively, just given how atrocious our attack was. So maybe that was a fact to consider. The fact that didn't even go to the VAR screen is suspect. I agree, and not just that. I think the replay took like 20 minutes until we saw the replay of that handball. And then in Real Madrid's first goal, Robert Lewandowski was brought down inside the penalty box, and that's how Real Madrid got the ball and were able to mount the counterattack and score the goal. But yet we didn't see a single replay of that, and I think that should have been, at least a replay should have been shown to see whether Lewandowski was actually fouled inside the penalty box. But again, successful campaign by Real Madrid in the media. They have all referees afraid of calling any shots against them. That's the situation of La Liga. Absolutely, it's absolutely shame. One more, and then we'll move to the next section because there's a lot to talk about. Oh, Nima, you're from Iran. That's awesome. McBarsa from Ireland. Yes. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining. The front three is terrible. Everyone works hard to cover for that hole, but it's not enough. A team's mentality is also relying on the ability to score. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay. Ansu is future. I don't think so. Not after this match. What is Ansu's skill? He did have plenty of skills before, but now after that, Okay. Barca should sell Lewandowski, Ansu Ferran, and Marcos Alonso by Vitor. And I mean, selling Lewandowski, that would be pretty dumb thing to do. We're talking about one of the best center forwards in the whole world. He's been scoring 30, 40 goals a season for the past 10 seasons. And to sell Lewandowski, I mean, what's next? You want to sell Ter Stegen as well? Okay, let's move on to the big news. Real Madrid have sent a letter to La Liga requesting that they want to join the legal complaint against Barcelona for the Enriquez Negreira case. Now, as you know, the prosecutor's office have opened an investigation into Barcelona. They have filed corruption charges against Barcelona for the Enriquez Negreira case. La Liga have joined this complete legal complaint, and now it looks like Real Madrid want to also join this complaint, so they can be a party in this trial or in this case, because they say that they have been prejudiced about what has happened in the Enriquez Negreira case, in both refereeing decisions and in the results of the competitions. I think this is absolutely laughable. First of all, there's no evidence that Barcelona paid any referees or that they bought any kind of influence or that any referees ruled in favor of Barcelona as a result of the hiring of Enriquez Negreira. I'm not just saying this. The prosecutor's office have said this. Javier Tebas himself, the biggest Barcelona hater, has said this. The Royal Spanish Football Federation have said this. The Treasury in Spain have said this. So it's pretty clear that there was no favoritism in the case of Barcelona because of the Enriquez Negreira hiring. This is clear. What the prosecutor's office right now are investigating is the falsification of evidence, of documents, and a misappropriation of funds. Because as I've said before, what really happened here was that Enriquez Negreira and several members of the board of directors were stealing from Barcelona, and that's what's really going on. But nonetheless, despite there being no evidence, Real Madrid are now claiming that they were prejudiced, which is an absolute joke because we're talking about a club who has won 3 Champions League and 2 La Ligas in the last 10 years based on bad refereeing calls in their favor. But yet here they are claiming that they have been prejudiced. It's an absolute joke. I think Real Madrid have no shame in what they're doing, and it's an absolute disgusting what they're doing. And I think what Florentino Perez is doing is damaging a really good relationship between both clubs. And I don't really think that he's considering the longer repercussions that this might have of breaking the good relationship between the two clubs, especially since it's Florentino Perez is obsessed with the Super League. He wants to get the Super League going, and everybody ran and abandoned that project except for Barcelona, who have stuck next to Florentino Perez and Real Madrid with this project. And I think after this, Joan Laporta should definitely consider pulling out of the Super League because we shouldn't be partners with someone who looked to stab us in the back. Back to the comment section, and then we'll move on to another bit of news about the Enriquez Negreira case, because this looks like it's never going to end. All right. Question Mo, do you agree Pep would have stayed if Laporta was not removed? Yeah, absolutely. Pep Guardiola left because of Sandro Rosell and because of Josep Maria Bartomeu. They drove him out of the club, which was an absolute shame. Pep Guardiola was the best coach in our history. He will remain the best coach in our history, and he should have been at the club for the next 10, 20 years. And it's an absolute shame that they drove him away. You can only imagine what he could have done with the team if Pep Guardiola was still coach. One question from Nima, and then we'll move forward. Does this case have anything to do with tensions between the Spanish government and Catalonia? Of course, of course. You know, if for those of you who don't know the history, you know, Catalonia have always been wanting to separate from Spain. So there's always been a lot of problems and tensions between Catalonia and Madrid. You know, Madrid being the capital, the center of power. And Barcelona, FC Barcelona, is the representation of that Catalan movement for independence. And so that's why there's always been animosity against Barcelona, whether it be La Liga, whether it be Javier Tebas, whether it be the Royal Spanish Football Federation. There's always been animosity against Barcelona because those two things go hand in hand. It's a very political thing. Barcelona is the symbol of Catalan movement for independence. So yeah, it's not a coincidence. That's definitely why there's so much animosity against Barcelona. Okay, next story is that the former presidents of Barcelona, Sandro Rosell and Josep Maria Bartomeu, met yesterday with their attorneys to discuss a possible lawsuit against La Liga's president, Javier Tebas, for presenting false evidence to the prosecutor's office in the Enriquez Negreira case. Now, I talked about this in the last stream. In case you missed it, Javier Tebas presented false evidence to the prosecutor's office to try to implicate Barcelona and the former board members of the board of directors. What pretty much happened in a nutshell, there was an investigation, a complete separate investigation, has nothing to do with the Enriquez Negreira case. And in that investigation, the police found an envelope, a sealed envelope, amongst the belongings of Josep Contreras. This is a former board of directors of Barcelona who passed away. Inside the envelope, they opened it, they found a piece of paper with some names on it, names of people, names of banks, and the numbers of bank accounts. Now, at first, it wasn't clear who these people are. The only names that were on the piece of paper was Rosell, the second name was Josep Maria, and the third name was Roman. Now, without knowing what who these names were or who these bank accounts belong to, Javier Tebas grabs this piece of paper from a completely different investigation, forwards it to the prosecutor's office, and says, guys, I have evidence that Barcelona were bribing referees in the Enriquez Negreira case. Here is proof of it. Here's this piece of paper. Rosell has to mean Sandro Rosell, which is the former Barcelona president. Josep Maria has to mean Josep Maria Bartomeu, because the former Barcelona president. And Roman has to be Roman Gomez Ponti, which is also a former Barcelona board of directors member. And all these bank accounts have to be Barcelona's bank accounts that they were using to pay off referees and to bribe referees. While the police conducted an investigation, they interviewed all the family members of the deceased, Josep Contreras. It turns out none of these allegations that Tebas did were correct. Rosell did not refer to Sandro Rosell. It referred to the guy's name is Ramon Rosell, which is the attorney of the deceased. Roman did not refer to Roman Gomez Ponti. It referred to Emilio Roman, which was the accountant of the deceased. And finally, Josep Maria did not refer to Josep Maria Bartomeu. It referred to a banker at where all these accounts were located. And finally, all these bank accounts did not belong to Barcelona. They belonged to the deceased. There were personal accounts that he had since the 90s. Actually, all these banks had closed in the 90s, so these were very old accounts. It looks like what Josep Contreras did back in the 80s or 90s. He wrote a piece of paper with all his bank accounts, which banks they were located at, who were the bankers, who was his accountant, who was his attorney, put in an envelope, sealed it in case, if he died, his family knew where his money was, at which banks, and they can claim that money. I guess he never updated it because all those banks had gone bankrupt back in the 90s. But yeah, without any evidence, without any knowledge about who these names were, who these accounts belonged to, Tebas made the allegations that this was proof that Barcelona were bribing referees. Now, Laporta and Barcelona obviously were furious when this came out. They made a statement calling for the resignation of Javier Tebas, which is, of course, he's not going to resign because this guy is absolutely shameless. But now it looks like Rosell and Bartomeu have met yesterday with their attorneys to consider a lawsuit against Tebas for using false evidence to try to incriminate them, because this would have also incriminated them, not just the club. And after discussing with their attorneys, Josep Maria Bartomeu has decided to file a lawsuit as soon as the judge rejects that piece of paper as evidence, because it's expected that that's going to happen, since that piece of paper has nothing to do with Barcelona or the Enriquez Negreira case. So as soon as the judge in the Enriquez Negreira case throws out that piece of evidence, because it's not a piece of evidence, it's just a piece of paper with nothing on it, then Bartomeu will definitely file a lawsuit against Tebas. Sandro Rosell has not made up his mind yet, but it's most likely that he will. And it's also reports that both Bartomeu and Rosell have want to actually reach out to Laporta and to Barcelona to see if they can join forces and all of them together go after Tebas. Now, initial reports are saying that Laporta doesn't want anything to do with these two, that if Barcelona go after Tebas, it's going to be on their own, and that Sandro Rosell and Bartomeu can also go against after Tebas on their own. I don't blame Laporta for doing this after all these two presidents were the worst presidents in the history of the club. They are the reason why we're in this financial hole. They're in the reason why there's so many legal cases against Barcelona. They've absolutely ruined the club. They are two awful individuals, and I don't blame that Laporta doesn't want anything to do with them. I wouldn't trust them either. But nonetheless, they are going after Tebas, and for that, I do applaud them. I guess that one thing good had to come out of these two very, very horrible people. Let's head to the comment section, and then we'll move on to one more bit of news. Actually, let's do this bit of news before we hit to the comments because it's also related to the Enriquez Negreira case. It's very short, but La Liga have called for an extraordinary assembly meeting on April 19th, where they have called Jan Laporta to show up in front of La Liga assembly and explain what's going on with the Enriquez Negreira case. You know, they wanted him to do it back in February, but Laporta said no because Barcelona have launched an internal investigation. So La Liga decided to give Barcelona some time to investigate what happened. And now that the investigation has almost concluded, it looks like Laporta will be showing up to the La Liga's extraordinary assembly meeting to explain exactly what happened with the Enriquez Negreira hiring and what happened between him and Barcelona. Now we'll head to the comments and then two more bits of news and we'll end the stream. All right. Let's see where we left off. I think Xavi will eventually become Barca's best coach in Barcelona history. He just need more time. I don't disagree. I don't know if he'll be the best, if he'll be better than Pep Guardiola, but I mean, he's definitely doing pretty good his first season. Again, he's not a coach that has much experience. I don't know if we'll ever have a coach like Guardiola. I think people like that come once in a lifetime, just like Messi. But we'll have to see. You know, only time will tell. Do you think if Adama Traore was kept in 2015, he could have been a better version of Ansu Fati? I don't know about that because Adama. The reason I mean the reason he left was because he wasn't really up to par with what Barcelona required of him, and even when we brought him back last season. He had really good matches at first, but then we saw again his performance decline, and then he started to get spend more and more time on the bench. I don't know if Traore is necessarily a Barcelona kind of player. He's a very physical, historic player, and that's not usually what Barcelona players are. You know, we usually go for more smaller, faster, more agile, if you may, versus the more physical players. I don't know. I can't say that for sure, but okay. The reasons why I said we should sell Lewandowski is because he does not know how to create chances for himself and does not know how to dribble past player. That is the reason why I love Suarez. Lewandowski is a center forward. It's not his job to create chances for himself. Lewandowski is a box predator. He waits in the box for the ball and then pushes it in. And there's nobody to get him that ball. He's not an interior. He's not a wing. He's not Messi. That's not his job. It's the job of the wings to get him the ball, especially in the Barcelona style of play. It's either the job of the fullbacks or the wings to get the center forward the ball. Nobody's doing that for him. That's why he can't score. But regardless of this, let's remember that Lewandowski has scored 27 goals so far. So saying that Lewandowski doesn't score goals, I mean, that's just not simply true. Okay, one more and we'll move on. Big check loading. In favor of Barcelona? Is that what you mean? I hope so. I mean, we need the money. I'm really disappointed for our loss tonight against Real Madrid. Why play Marcos Alonso instead of Eric Garcia? Good question. I think Xavi decided to go with experience because Marcos Alonso has a lot more experience than Eric Garcia, especially on a big stage. You know, Marcos Alonso has played Champions Leagues. But I think he definitely erred because Marcos Alonso was absolutely atrocious tonight. But again, not to hold it against Marcos Alonso. He's usually pretty consistent. He's pretty good. Not tonight. But again, the whole team was off their game. I mean, even Araujo, who's undoubtedly one of the best center backs in the world, even him had an off night. That's that. Anyways, let's move on to let's small bits of news and then we'll conclude the stream. Starting with Messi, there's more information about the offer that Barcelona are currently working on to see if they can sign Messi in the summer. It looks like Barcelona could offer Messi around 10 million euro salary or a 9 million euro salary, close to what Lewandowski is currently making. And it would also offer him a percentage of all the merchandise sales that he's going to bring with him and a percentage of all the sponsorships that he would bring with him, and plus the entire ticket sale of the match that Barcelona want to do in order kind of to bid him farewell, kind of like that tribute that Laporta wants to do for Messi. So they want to give him the entire ticket sales for that match, plus a percentage of all the revenue that he would bring. That way they can bridge that difference between that 9-10 million euro salary that Barcelona pay and what Messi is expecting, because Messi does want a big salary. You know, he will be saying no to PSG because they asked him to reduce his salary by 25%. And it looks like his father wanted an increase in the salary, not a decrease. And Messi already earns 40 million. So if they want an increase, I don't know what they were thinking, maybe 45, 50 million, which is absolutely out of the question for Barcelona. Barcelona can only offer him 8, 9, maybe 10 million euros. And I guess the difference would be by giving him a percentage of all the revenue that he would bring to the club. There's also talks about Barcelona currently in talks with sponsors, the current sponsors, to see if they can put more money on the table to try to bring Messi back. And there's even talks about Barcelona talking to potential sponsors who would agree to become Barcelona sponsors if Messi joins. All this is being uh, studied behind the scenes. Again, this is not for sure. This doesn't mean that Messi will for sure come. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but nonetheless, Barcelona are doing everything in their power to try to see if this is feasible, because Laporta wants Messi back, no question about it. And as I've said before, many reporters in Argentina are saying that Messi wants to also come back. So I guess time will tell. We'll have to see where this ends, but it looks like Messi is getting closer and closer every day to his return to Barcelona. The final news is Luis Enrique. It looks like he's very, very close to becoming Chelsea's new coach, which I think is very interesting. I don't know what the hell are Chelsea doing. I think they're throwing everything they got at the wall and hoping that something sticks. You know, they're buying players left and right, spending crazy amounts, hiring coaches, firing coaches. I don't know if they even have any idea on what they're doing, but nonetheless, that's what Chelsea are doing. It looks like Luis Enrique will be their next coach. Of course, as a former Barcelona coach, I wish him the best of luck. I hope that he succeeds there, except if he's playing against Barcelona. But nonetheless, I wish Luis Enrique the best. He's also one of the best coaches we've ever had. And let's get back to the comment section. We'll do a few more comments. We'll end the stream and we'll call it a day, a terrible day, but nonetheless a day. Okay, let's see. Where did we leave off? Do you know? Oh, wait, no. McBarca, you're talking about best. Okay. It's always difficult if we don't have money. We can only buy old or mediocre players. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, we bought Lewandowski, we bought Kunde. We made some pretty good signings this summer, except for Rafinha. I think we just got to be a little bit better about choosing who we have. Sell Ansu, Ferran, Sergi, Roberto, and Lewandowski. I already touched about this. I think selling Lewandowski would be probably one of the dumbest things that Barcelona could do. I agree with selling Ansu and Ferran. Sergi Roberto, they just renewed him. They're not going to sell him. All right, one more. Don't forget to like. Thank you, Nima. Yes, don't forget to like the video. It goes a long way with the algorithm of YouTube to recommend this video, which then helps this channel continue to grow. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And again, thank you all who joined the stream. Thank you, all of you who will be watching this when it ends. It was a tough day today. It was a tough loss, but nonetheless, we must still support our team. We must support our players and our coach. Visca Barça, and I will see you guys tomorrow in tomorrow's video. Have a good night.